It's not a very exciting door at the moment, but every once in a while it gets kind of interesting. And again, not every night. This is definitely it's kind of a rare occasion, but every once in a while, one of our guests or one of our staff, they say that they see this woman in front of this door here. And they describe her as kind of middle-aged, slightly built. She's got this old-fashioned dress on, and she has this handbag out in front of her. And she appears to be a little upset, like she's lost something in this handbag. So she'll be digging around this handbag, shaking her head, she's looking for something, and people will see this, and they'll approach her, and they'll ask her, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And she'll look up, she'll say, oh, no, thank you. I'm just trying to find my keys. And turns back towards the door right here, and disappears right through it. That's Miss Theodora. She was an employee of the Baker Hospital back there in 1938-39 when they were here. This is her room number 419 here. Now, some of the employees live here on the grounds on the 4th floor. Norman Baker, he occupied the penthouse suite above our heads. It's 502, it's a penthouse suite nowadays. Back then, it was his private apartment. So we think she must have been someone that he really trusted to have her live so close to him. Now, if you can see the door here, you can notice that there's no number on it, there's no doorknob, there's no hardware. It's all sealed off nowadays. Now, it's not because we have her locked up in there. This is because this was room 419 back in the old days, one little room all by itself. The modern room 419 is around the corner on the other side of the stairwell. And it too is a little separate room all by itself, but nowadays these two rooms are combined into a two-room suite. So we don't use this door anymore, it's just part of the bedroom. You don't do it around the corner. Miss Theodora, this was her door back in those days, so that's why she thinks this is her room, and so when she's seen in front of this door, trying to get her old room. Now, as far as I know, no one's ever seen her anywhere else in the hotel, except for in front of this room right here. But there are people who stay in room 419, and from time to time they tell us that Miss Theodora stays with them. They don't see her, but they experience her. It seems that she's kind of a neat and tidy, organized, almost OCD kind of a ghost. She'll do some light housekeeping for the guests, but they tell us anyway. They'll tell us these stories. They'll come back from a day hiking around Eureka Springs. They'll come into the room. They'll kick off their shoes. They'll dump their pockets out on top of the dresser. They'll want to get in the shower, so they'll take off their clothes, drop on the floor, and go get in the shower. Well, when they come out of the shower, they tell us they come back in the room and they find their shoes have been lined up in front of the bed in a little row. The stuff on top of the dresser has all been arranged and organized for them. Even the coins are stacked, by denominations. The clothes on the floor, they've been picked up and folded. We've had guests actually call the front desk. They'll be upset. They'll be like, "Hey, I was in the shower when your maid came in. I didn't like that. What about my privacy?" We'll say, "Well, our maid went home at 4, but thanks anyway." Just Miss Theodora, just trying to help out her guests. The ones that she likes, anyway. She doesn't like all of her guests, apparently. She has a little bit of a different reaction sometimes. And there's a few stories about this over the years, but the one I like to tell has to do with a couple that came to get married. They're going to be married the next day. So we had a lot of weddings here in the hotel, So this couple, they came here to get married, and they took them to 419 here. They unpacked their bags. They hung their wedding clothes in the closet. They settled in for the evening. And, maybe they were nervous about the next day, maybe getting a little cold feet, who knows what. But they began to argue over some small matter. They kind of developed quite a row. They were really kind of loud. But they both realized this is a bad way to begin a marriage. So let's go down to the bar, honey. We'll cool off, have a little drink, talk it over. Tomorrow's the wedding, right? So they go on down to the bar. They have a little drinky poo. They have a nice time. They fall back in love. So they come back to the room. They put the key in the door. Works just great. Turn the knob. Works just fine. They go to open the door though. It's like, oh, someone's blocking the door. They can't get the door to open. So they push really hard. They get the door open all the way. They get into the room. They find their bags have been packed, put behind the door. But not everything had been packed. The wedding clothes were no longer in the closet. They were now in a pile in the middle of the floor. Yeah, apparently Miss Theodora had not approved of their nuptials.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe it was the shouting, that got to her, maybe. It could be too, though. She is from the 1930s after all. It could be she might have been a little offended. They were going to spend the night before the wedding. That might have upset her. But we don't really know for sure. But this couple, they did stay. They got married. That's all we know. We've not gotten a postcard. So.
Whether it lasted, we don't know.
Yes, we don't know that. But now, I want to show you guys a little something. We had a lady that used to work for us named Rebecca Beckham, and she's a very talented artist. And 13 years ago, she painted 5 portraits of the hotel ghosts. And she painted them from verbal descriptions that people gave her of what these ghosts look like. So I'm going to show you guys the portrait of Miss Theodora that she painted. It's a little card set you can buy down in the lobby if you're interested in getting it. That's what we think Miss Theodora looks like. I don't know if Rebecca ever saw her herself. As far as I know, she just does from descriptions.
Do we know what happened to her? I assume?
Miss Theodora?
Yes.
We don't actually know how she died.
Of old age though, or was she,
We really don't know.
don't know?
It's kind of a weird thing because we've always wondered that very question: why is she here? Because she didn't die here. You know,
Right.
why is she here? And so again, some of our paranormal investigator friends, what they have told us, and some of the seance people, that kind of thing, what they have told us that she is, you know, from a connection to Nora Baker in the hospital, that she is here to guide people to the side. They tell us. So I don't know.
Very attached.
Yeah, attached is the word. Yeah, so some of our guests, though, when they stay in this room, they're a little unnerved because there's a large portrait of Miss Theodora that hangs over the bed. So
Oh.
some of them don't like it. So if you see her in the hallway here, she's a pretty pleasant lady usually. But if you stay in her room, you know, behave yourselves.
Behave yourself, no arguing.
She's a little sensitive. All right, follow me, guys. We're going down the third floor.